Good afternoon. My name is Andy Hallman. Later, we'll hear about how the SEC soccer, golf, and tennis races are heating up. But first, today's top stories. With the release of the full RAGBRAI route last Thursday, Mount Pleasant received additional information about the sixth overnight stop in town. RAGBRAI stated in a news release that with the full route, it anticipates 20,000 plus registered riders by the time they take off from Glenwood on Sunday, July 21st. According to Henry County Sheriff Rich McNamee, riders will come into the county at Coppock, then go through Wayland and Trenton before making their way into Mount Pleasant past the Mount Pleasant Golf and Country Club on Friday, July 26th. The Day 6 route ending in Mount Pleasant will specifically take riders from Ottumwa through Agency, Eldon, Selma, and Libertyville before hitting Fairfield, which will act as the day's meeting town. RAGBRAI states that designated meeting towns provide a place for support staff and riders to meet and enjoy the hospitality of the local residents. From Fairfield, riders will pass through Pleasant Plain, then Brighton before hitting Henry County and setting up camp in Mount Pleasant for the night. According to McNamee, after enjoying an overnight stay in Mount Pleasant, riders will then leave Mount Pleasant the following morning via Winfield Avenue, 220th Street to Racine Avenue as they make their way to Mediapolis, Kingston, and finally Burlington. This Day 7 ride will consist of 46.5 miles from Mount Pleasant to Burlington, where cyclists will dip their tires in the Mississippi River to conclude the week-long ride. The Day 6 route is the longest ride day of RAGBRAI, with 84.8 of the total 434 miles. The route also will feature the optional Caras Loop between Brighton and Wayland. This option will add 15.2 miles to the standard distance of the Day 6 route. According to RAGBRAI, the Century Loop was renamed the Caras Loop in 2001 to honor RAGBRAI co-founder John Caras, who was commonly found on the Century Loop greeting riders. Riders that complete the Caras Loop will receive a patch to commemorate their accomplishment. Whether cyclists choose to take on the additional challenge of the Century Loop or not, the Mount Pleasant RAGBRAI Committee hopes they make themselves at home during their stay. Now, while many additional details are still to come for RAGBRAI Mount Pleasant, the group did recently announce musical acts for the overnight stay activities. Country band Blake Jack and South 35th will get the party started July 26th at 6 p.m. as they open for 80s cover band The Spasmatics, who will take the stage at 8 p.m. And the city of Fairfield is very excited to be a day stop along the RAGBRAI route on Friday, July 26th. The town will serve as a pivotal meeting point for support vehicles and riders embarking on their journey to Mount Pleasant. Unlike years in the past when Fairfield was an overnight destination for the event, this year Fairfield will host only a portion of the group for the day. And as a meeting town, Fairfield will see mostly support personnel and some riders who will arrive in the morning and stay until about 3 p.m. before moving on to the next stop. The co-chairs leading this endeavor include Terry Baker, Executive Director for Visit Fairfield CVB, Mendy McAdams, Executive Director for the Fairfield Area Chamber of Commerce, and Montserrat Iniguez, Director of Soapbox Speakeasy in Fairfield. These co-chairs will be spearheading a group of dedicated planners to curate an unforgettable experience that showcases the very best of Fairfield. RAGBRAI has built a reputation as a celebration on wheels, where the people of Iowa generously open their hearts and communities to the event. For Fairfield, this presents an unparalleled opportunity to highlight the town's charm and hospitality. This year's ride will be the shortest on record at 434 miles, but at 18,741 feet of climb, the elevation will be the steepest. Fairfield previously hosted RAGBRAI as an overnight town in 1979, 1988, 1997, 2013, and 2019. After 2 fire calls in as many days over the Easter weekend, Ainsworth Fire Chief Waylon Schultz is urging community members to account for wind and stay clear of buildings when they conduct controlled burns of any scale. Both structure fires happened when formerly controlled burns got out of hand. The first, the night of March 30th, required volunteers to extinguish an unoccupied hog building along Old White Way. The other involved a porch fire on Easter morning, March 31st. Schultz said the hog building caught fire when a controlled burn on Conservation Reserve Program land blew off course. Police reports from the incident said a caller had asked for help in case the fire gets too close, but that first responders found the building ablaze when they arrived. And as for the Sunday incident, the fire chief said someone at the home had burned off dead shrubs within a few feet of the house the night before. That evening, the embers found enough oxygen to spread, ultimately igniting the house's entire front porch. Schultz said the house wasn't a total loss, but had suffered heavy internal smoke and water damage, along with the fire damage on the outside. He urges other homeowners to learn from the emergency and avoid burning anything within 20 to 30 feet of a building, as a rule of thumb. La Hacienda on the west edge of Fairfield served its final meal on Sunday, March 31st. The building will not remain vacant, however, since it has been sold to a new owner who plans to open his own restaurant in the building next month. Shefki Mehmedi has operated Riverside Family Restaurant in Fairfield for the past 7 years, but he had to move the restaurant out of its former location at 605 West Burlington Avenue. Ramon Gonzalez had run La Hacienda for 21 years before deciding to close the restaurant this year. He approached Mehmedi to see if he would like to rent or purchase La Hacienda's building, and Mehmedi agreed to buy it. Mehmedi took ownership of the building on April 1st and has been hard at work since then renovating the interior to reflect his own style. Mehmedi said customers can expect the same menu items they've grown to love at Riverside Family Restaurant, though it will no longer be part of the Riverside chain of restaurants. In fact, Mehmedi is changing the name of the restaurant to Fairfield Diner. Abigail Nicholas, who works at the restaurant, said a lot of patrons already refer to it as the diner. Mehmedi said the new building is a little bit bigger than his old location, and he'll plan to seat roughly the same number of customers as before. He estimated the new restaurant will be able to seat between 120 and 140 people. Mehmedi said he's glad he was able to connect with Gonzalez and bring new life to his building because Mehmedi badly wanted to keep his restaurant in Fairfield. Mehmedi and a team of helpers are painting the interior, installing new booths, and changing the atmosphere of the restaurant so it will feel like a unique experience. Gonzalez sold his equipment to Mehmedi, but Mehmedi sold a lot of that equipment, said a lot of the equipment is specific to Mexican food, and that's not what Mehmedi is going to serve at Fairfield Diner. The most popular dishes at Riverside Family Restaurant, which Mehmedi will continue offering at Fairfield Diner, include breakfast skillets, omelets, walleye, and beer-battered cod. And Nicholas said they hope to open Fairfield Diner in early May. Those are today's top stories. We'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll hear about the SEC races in soccer, golf, and tennis.
Federation Bank is a locally owned bank providing award-winning customer service. We believe that we are more than just a federation of banks, but a federation of communities, serving Brighton, Richland, Wellman, and Washington, Iowa. Federation Bank's highly skilled staff is here to make sure you are able to accomplish your personal and professional goals, whatever they may be. Federation Bank, your family bank.
Welcome back to Newsbreak, everyone. This is your sports report with sports editor Andy Kretzinger here on Tuesday, April 9th, 2024, and we are busy in spring sports. My goodness, we got you some soccer, we got you some track, we got you some golf, and we got you some tennis. Let's start on the soccer fields, where there were a couple of rivalry games here recently between the Mount Pleasant Panthers and the Fairfield Trojans on Thursday night, and the Mount Pleasant Panthers and the Washington Demons on last night, Monday night. On Thursday at Mount Pleasant's East Lake Park. The Panthers beat the Trojans in a rivalry game, 1-1 going into overtime. It went double overtime. Then it went shootout, and Mount Pleasant 4-2 over Fairfield. That was the first win for the Panther boys soccer team over their Highway 34 rivals since 2019. Fairfield had outscored Mount Pleasant 30-1 coming into that game in the last 7 Highway 34 showdowns. We got goals from Alex Ruiz of Mount Pleasant and from Jackson Allen of Fairfield in that one. And then, as I said, Mount Pleasant lights out in the shootout. Zachary LeBlanc picks up the win in net, had a couple of big PK saves, one in regulation, one in the shootout. And then on the girls' side, the Mount Pleasant girls, because of a dominant effort from a lot of girls, but especially Sharice Awerda and her 6-goal outing, the Panthers knock off Fairfield 10-0 at Fairfield High School. And then on last night, Monday night, if you're watching this on Tuesday, Mount Pleasant and Washington had a little rivalry showdown. The girls were at East Lake Park and Mount Pleasant. Mount Pleasant wins 2-0 to move to 2-0 in Southeast Conference play. And in boys soccer at Washington Wellness Park, the Mount Pleasant Panthers had a 2-0 lead at halftime. And Washington comes storming back. Edwin Cortez, Brian Ariola, and Lucas Lindsay all score for the Washington Demons. A 3-2 victory for the Demons, who are now 2-0 in conference play. Guess what? We got Fairfield and Washington in the Highway 1 rivalry on Thursday in soccer. So pretty wild stuff. On the track, the Washington Demons held the co-ed Demon Relays on Thursday, and it was a busy, busy day. On the girls' side, Washington scored 101 points, almost won their home relays, fell short to Tipton by 3 points. Tipton 104, Washington 101. Mount Pleasant takes 3rd, and Hillcrest Academy 8th, Fairfield 9th. Highland goes 11th, and then Waco finished 13th on the girls' side. Read through the Southeast Iowa Union Tuesday issue. Hunter Moeller has all of the top 5 results in that. So a lot of names there because there were a lot of Union area kids in that race. On the boys' side, we got Fairfield getting a few top 5 finishes out of Eli Zillman in the high jump and Ryan Giberson in the 110s. They led the way for the Trojans, who had a nice night there. Washington had a nice night out of Josh Anderson, who threw for first place in the wheelchair shot put and also took second in the 401, the 400 wheelchair, the 200 wheelchair, and the 100 wheelchair. And Mount Pleasant had a couple of second place finishers. The 4x4 for Mount Pleasant, the 4x1 got second on that one. So a busy day at the Washington Relays, and a lot of those kids will be in either Fort Madison tonight for a little girls track or Fairfield tonight for a little boys track. I think Fairfield boys are the only big school there on the boys side. We had some tennis and a couple of undefeated showdowns from the Mount Pleasant Panthers and the Washington Demons and the Fairfield Trojans on the tennis courts. Washington Fairfield come in unbeaten in conference play, unbeaten overall in both. On the girls' side, Mount Pleasant 5-4. Singles matches were split 3-3. Mount Pleasant wins doubles 2-1 to knock off Fairfield on the girls' side again, and then 7-1 victory for the 8-1, sorry, for the Fairfield boys tennis team. They are undefeated and kind of unchallenged in the SEC. They've won each of their meets by 5 points or more. So Fairfield in first place right now in SEC boys tennis. Finally, we got a little golf for you guys, and it looks like we might have some parity in girls golf here in the Southeast Conference. The girls all met up in Fairfield for the first of what hopes to be 5 Southeast Conference regular season meets. Mount Pleasant outlasts Washington in that one. Panthers first and Demons second. And then at the Fort Madison meet on Monday night, Fort Madison gets first and Mount Pleasant gets second. Kylie Walderback of Mount Pleasant, second place in both of those. And so what happens there is they will continue to travel around the area, and we'll keep you updated on the standings in the Southeast Iowa Union The boys were canceled on Thursday, but on Monday night, finally the SEC boys went back at it, and the Washington Demons win with 145 points in Fort Madison. Roman Roth and Rajon Roth, 34 and 35, lead the way. Drew Conrad and Teague Meyer, 37-39. That's 4 scores under 40 for the Demons. They win this thing by 26 strokes over second place Mount Pleasant. Reese Kaufman of Mount Pleasant shoots a 38 to lead the Panthers. And then Fairfield and Fort Madison tied for third. Fairfield's Sam Wheaton goes 42 to lead the Trojans. And Keokuk bringing up fifth place with 197. And again, same with the everybody else. The boys will go to each SEC course to play, and then the scores get all added up, and that's how the SEC is decided nowadays. They will be at Mount Pleasant on April 11th. That's it for high school sports, but congratulations to our winners of the Southeast Iowa Union Bracket Challenges. Mount Pleasant principal Mike Wilson scores 1,450 points to beat out his employee, Sarah Kretzinger, who had 1,420 in the boys and the men's bracket. UConn won last night, and that locked things up for Mr. Mike Wilson. He is your champion for the 2024 season, the second champion in Southeast Iowa Union Sports Talk Bracket Challenge history. And on the girls' side, Washington boys basketball, boys golf coach Colin Stark scores 1,600 points. South Carolina got it done for him, and he beats our faithful producer, Alex Snyder, by 70. Alex Snyder second with 1,530 points in the first ever Southeast Iowa Union Sports Talk Women's Bracket Challenge. Congratulations, Mr. Wilson. Congratulations, Mr. Stark. You may now call yourself champions. And that's it for the sports report here on Newsbreak. Alex is going to have your obituaries for you when we get back.
In the heart of rural Iowa, where community matters most, the connections we make are made to last. Meet KCTC, your hometown internet, phone, and TV provider. At KCTC, we're not just about technology, we're about people. Our dedicated team are your neighbors, committed to bringing you top-tier services right where you live. We believe in giving back to the community that raised us. Experience the power of a real connection with KCTC. Join us in building a stronger, more connected Southeast Iowa.
Hello and welcome back to Newsbreak. It is now time for your obituaries. Robert Neil Havel of Washington passed away on April 2nd at the age of 92. Celebration of Life services will be held at 10:30 a.m. April 9th at the Jones and Eden Funeral Home. Joseph Edward Kessler of Fairfield passed away on March 30th at the age of 89. Graveside services will be held at 10 a.m. April 15th at Pleasant Plain Friends Cemetery. George Clive Statler of Des Moines passed away on April 2nd at the age of 84. Funeral services will be held at 2 p.m. April 13th at the Jones and Eden Funeral Home. Eugene Michael Stewart of Mount Pleasant passed away on April 5th at the age of 75. A celebration of Gene's life will be held on April 13th at 2 p.m. at the Salem Congregational Church. James M. Jim Yoder of Kelowna passed away on April 6th at the age of 73. A funeral service will be held on April 12th at 10 a.m. at the Peterson Funeral Home in Kelowna. Rebecca Becky K. Dye of Eldon passed away on April 5th at the age of 58. A graveside service will begin at 11 a.m. on April 10th at the Eldon Cemetery. Eldon W. Whithoff of Mount Pleasant passed away on April 4th at the age of 93. John Jack L. Fisher of Fairfield passed away on April 6th at the age of 101. Funeral services will be held at 11 a.m. April 13th at the Living Hope Bible Church. Lloyd Merrill Farrell of Fairfield passed away on April 7th at the age of 80. Funeral services celebrating his life will be at 10 a.m. April 11th at the Faith United Methodist Church in Libertyville. That is your news in Southeast Iowa. I've been your host, Alex Snyder. This has been your news break, and I will see you